Just to kick things off, for people who might not be super familiar with you guys, what are you building? What are you all about?
Fair enough. Yeah, so we are the first and biggest publicly traded quantum company. We're the only company in the world that does both quantum computing and quantum networking. Both of these things are a revolution that is on the way, if not already here in some instances.
So Niccolo, you've CEO'd many public companies, you've been a chairman, you've brought tons of equity to the market. Just how do you think about this kind of disruption? Everyone that's out there in the markets right now, including your investors, are probably really trying to figure out how to play, how to think.
I feel that very much IonQ is ushering in the same sort of revolution in computing that we saw with Shockley in the first transistor, in the 1940s and 50s. Silicon Valley got going originally with this huge vacuum tube that Shockley had brought, and he was trying to miniaturize on semiconductors and DCA and Fairchild, and all these things got going eventually. Intel. 80 years later, IonQ is ushering in the greatest change in the history of computing since the start. So we're moving from effectively one model of bits to a future model called qubits, and we're moving from the CPU and the GPU to the QPU, the quantum processing unit. What we're doing is a national necessity, right? It's a bipartisan issue. The US has to win at quantum computing and quantum networking. Just like we won with the creation of the internet, and ARPA and, DARPA's challenges back, 50, 60 years ago, just like we won, in Silicon all the way through. We just happen to be the only company in the world that does both quantum networking. So I think of ourselves as the 800-pound gorilla of quantum, and our goal is to remain that.
So I was hoping maybe you can provide some color on type of real-world problems you're helping the Amazon and Microsofts out there to finally get that narrative out there that this is not an R&D company, it's actually solving business issues today.
We're still the only company that is publicly available on all three clouds. Google doesn't put their own machine on the Google Cloud. Amazon doesn't either, Microsoft doesn't either, and obviously there's probably a reason for that, which is they don't really run, right? The other thing I'm going to point out, and this is missed again by folks at all sorts of companies, including IBM, who have to have expensive cooling refrigerators, and they try and operate semiconductor approaches which require near absolute zero temperatures. We don't, right? So our chip looks like this, and it's small, size of my hand. It can be miniaturized, and it runs, very close to room temperature. And so the beauty of that is we don't have the cooling apparatus. We don't have the football stadium of space required. We've doubled down on networking, and we bought a business in San Diego called Qubits last year. And just last month, we effectively announced the acquisition from SK Telecom of the leading quantum networking company called ID Quantique in Geneva, Switzerland. And that comes with an 800-kilometer quantum network that SK Telecom built in Seoul. We have an office, obviously, we're gaining in Seoul. And we have, as I said, 600 customers, including Samsung, that ships our quantum random generator in their Samsung Galaxy Quantum 5, phone. So, yes, look, the future of modern society, Shay, I think relies on both, quantum computing and quantum networking.
How do you feel about the prospects of winning additional government contracts in the next few years?
So obviously we pride ourselves on having, we would argue, the best relationship with the U.S. government and all three-letter agencies therein. We have the former director of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency on our board, Robert Cardillo. Quantum computing is going to grow, the economies of states, where we have a presence, like Maryland, Washington right now. We're looking to work with more state governments to grow their economy and grow their quantum centers. We have a bill going through that we've been involved with in Texas, actually, that Chairman Giovanni Capriglione put through just during South by Southwest, actually, which had a quantum track here. So we expect every administration to be supporting quantum computing because it's the battlefield of the future. It's energy, it's materials of the future, it's financial services infrastructure, it's secure communications, it's banking, the future. And as we look to take on more customers, we're going to do it in a measured way to ensure that we're supporting, the U.S. government first and foremost, the U.S. economy first and foremost, our own R&D roadmap, and making sure that we continue to grow our manufacturing footprint in the U.S.
How far are we from that quantum data center model where enterprises are going to start deploying modular QPUs as part of the hybrid stack that I think is inevitable?
There are fewer ways to make quantum computing work sensibly on-premise, in a cockpit, etc., than there are in football fields, right, with their own river and their own nuclear power plant. So you're right, there will be a fair amount of quantum computing that happens through data centers. Whether or not we get into that business directly or partner is to be played for. frankly. Look, the era is it's certainly in the coming years. It's in the 2020s, right? It's not in the 2030s, for sure. It is a brave new world. It is a revolution. We are leading it. We're intent on continuing to lead it.
Someone here is asking the handle Water T. When will AQ64 be delivered this year? Do you still think it is the Chat GPT moment for quantum?
Yeah, so we continue to say that we will be shipping systems to customers next year. Exactly what quarter should be played for. That means we have to get stuff working in the lab if you work backwards, given the sort of the lag between manufacturing and kind of lab success. For sure, AQ64 is not simulatable using even, it takes billions of GPUs, I believe, to simulate an AQ64 system. So from that perspective, it certainly is a ChatGPT moment because, ChatGPT cannot be simulated by all the CPUs in the world, for example, right? It's a new architecture, new problem solve.